The future of your life and world depends on you. That's each of us, and that's something that we don't really appreciate always because we may not believe that what we do in our lives is that important or essential or is doing anything to create the world, but it is. That's why you were born. Every person is born with something they're meant to do to bring into the world, and as they begin to uncover what that is, they're making an energetic contribution to our world. Everything is energy. I've placed several videos recently or messages that I received from Wilhelm talking about energy because that's all that we are. But it takes a while for us to understand that or to understand how we're using it while we're living in this world, living in this physical world. And we have seen over the last several years it's been a little difficult. So you might have been a little afraid, you might have been a little unsure, or you might have been really anxious to do something and you still haven't done it. And that's me, because we have these plans within us that are meant to be actualized at a particular time. And I'm telling you that that time is now. And I do know that. I'm going to read something to you because I want you to understand this. In 1989, I first started receiving Wilhelm, meaning doing automatic writing and receiving this information. And I could not have told you what it was going to do. I didn't know how it was going to turn out. I just knew that I needed some help, and I was receiving it. And so I proceeded to move through my life since that time, doing it every day, and receiving so much information while I was moving through every horrible imaginable thing any human can think of, but somehow that healed. And now I'm 74, and everything is healed, and I understand, and I'm moving in a different direction. But the part that was really challenging was self-acceptance. And that's going to be the only challenge that you have in your life is self-acceptance. Because you were born to do something, it's within you, it develops over time, and yes, you do have a divine plan. That's the thing that we can talk about, and I put something out the other day, and people will look at that and say, that doesn't make any sense, and I don't have it. That's because you have not understood your right place. You haven't understood energy. You don't know the quantum field. You don't know that every single person comes in at the right time with a genetic code that could cause creation if they're willing to own themselves. And it's about the type of energy that they're going to bring in. So what Wilhelm told me is that we all come into the world with these blank slates, what we're meant to do. But we also have history. And that history is everything that came before, our ancestors, that generation. But we're supposed to move beyond that. We don't always do it. We don't always do it in our lives, and we don't always do it in our civilization. And so when I started receiving and understanding what Wilhelm had given me, I thought, wow, they're saying this is a new philosophy because we needed to operate in a different way. Because we can see that there was some energy happening globally that wasn't causing us to be happy. We were moving through all kinds of trauma. And that was purposeful. Because, see, you're here to make the world better. And you do that when you decide to love yourself. When you decide to move through your trauma and move through all that old stuff and become your authentic self. And then what happens is you heal. You're no longer afraid. You're no longer lacking confidence. You feel more empowered. You can start to bring into your life everything that you wanted. And I can say all of these words and you won't believe them. And I know they're true. I'm saying that because I didn't believe them either. That's the difficulty that we have. Because the thing that we're meant to do, what's within us, we're always afraid of it. Because that's the thing that we were given that keeps us going. Maybe we can get there. And you'll hear that in this recording that I'm going to share with you, because what I got up and Wilhelm told me to put together messages from, this went back further, 2007, because there's an organization. We think that there is no order to the universe or the movement of the stars or energies, and what's happening is I'm finding out that's not true. There's an organization. And this is the thing that was challenging for me, as it will be for you, to understand we're always changing. But when we become resistant to change, that's when we have trouble. And I was really resistant to change because doing this was so uncomfortable. It was so, I can't tell people I'm doing this. except it healed me. And I know that it could heal our world. And that sounded so ridiculous. But I looked at it and I go, well, wait a minute, it would have to. Because, see, if you were to understand who you were, if you were to move through your restrictions and your limitations and do what you came to the world to do, wouldn't you have a different life? Wouldn't you see the world differently? And then when you'd pass that on to others, you would have kids and bring them into the world and show them this is what you can do. But see, the other thing we have to do is acknowledge what we haven't done, individually and collectively as a society. See, when Wilhelm gave me all this information and they said, well, we're giving you a new philosophy because your old one isn't working really well. They were talking about our entire world because there were things that we weren't looking at. And so they said, you're going to talk about this. And I said, I'm not going to do that. Let me hide. That's what we do also. If we don't want to own ourselves, then we can just stay hidden. I was doing that for a long time. But for two reasons. There was a timing of my life that you wouldn't have understood that unless I had lived my life, moved through everything, shown the results of it, and say you can do the same thing, and then you'll be able to pass that on to others, and then we have a very different world. Because, see, I had to move through racism and misogyny and all of those biases and judgment and hatred and anger. And I was given all of those processes. And then the miraculous thing that happened as a result of that, my physical body started healing. And then Wilhelm said, just think, if everyone would do that, wouldn't you see your world healing? And then, but people will look at that and they said, nope, that's not going to happen because it's not possible. That's what we do. We don't think things are possible because we've never done it. And then that acceptance, which is why cognitive dissonance is why Wilhelm keeps bringing that up so often, because we have it. And we couldn't see it, especially in the United States, because they kept talking about the United States was going to move through this restructuring and they would be the biggest change. And then we had an election recently where people were like surprised because we weren't paying attention. We weren't owning who we were. Because there's an energy that we're moving into now in our world collectively. You know, you heard about that Aquarian thing, the age of Aquarius. We're there. But that's about cooperation. That's about inclusion. Because as we evolve as a society, we have to include more. Separation has never worked. There's been studies which Wilhelm has sent me to understand. Because now we're starting to see, wait a minute, the energies and the changes of the planet cause us to act in a particular way. They act on our emotions. Oh, and then it brings up all of our old stuff. Old stuff is generational things that we have not let go of because we have consciousness. Consciousness and energy never goes away. All it does is just transforms. It's always here. And so you get to decide how you're going to use it and if you're going to create the life that you want to have, because you are the one who's doing it. And sometimes you will hold back. I did that. But now my holding back has become the most valuable thing anyone could want to have, because you would never have to do it. You would never have to doubt yourself. Well, you're still going to do that because we all will. But you won't have to do it as much. That's the other thing to understand. It gets easier. You know how we have different things in our world now because of technology? Well, my brain became one of those things as well. And Wilhelm said in the message that in the channeling session, well, Roger has a savant kind of brain. Oh, that was strange to me. I didn't know that. And then I saw that I had collected all this information. That's why I can answer anyone's question, because it's been given to me over years and years and years. And that's what can happen for you. But there's something else to understand. You already have a wealth of information within you. You just don't know that. And so that's why when Wilhelm gives me work, when I've given it to my the people in my program, it's questions, because the questions get you to move beyond your blockages that told you you weren't enough, because that's never true. We find that out as we live if we become willing. Everyone will not do this. And the other thing that you're going to understand now is that you can't change anyone else. I've been trying to do that one for a long time, and it's not going to happen because it becomes an avoidance that you're having with taking care of your own life. And that's what I was doing. Because I thought if I can get everybody to do this, then it's going to be really wonderful. It's never going to happen. And then other people for years tried to tell me, Roger, change things, charge a lot more money, then they'll come, because they'll think it's really valuable. Well, I am doing that now. But I'm doing that because I'm putting so much more in it. So I know that anybody who does it, they're going to get well more than their money's worth. But I'm going to show you something first, and then I'll tell you the rest of this, because you have to know that you live at the most dynamic time that has ever existed. And because of that, you could have the greatest life because you obviously have something within you that's waiting to come forth. And you can feel that. You can feel it, and it's been there, and you're waiting for it because you're looking at the rest of the world and saying, when are they going to catch up? That's what's happening. But let me go through this with you. What I recently discovered is that Wilhelm had given me things over years that would have a consistency, and this is showing the order of the universe. Now, we would not understand that. I didn't know that was happening, but as you read through these, you will come to understand it for yourself. You come to accept yourself in your consciousness, and it's always a process of uncovering it and moving through something, which is why mindset has become so important. It's and we understand neuroscience, all these things that are being developed. This is exactly what I did for all of these years of my life. And so this was the message put up for today. The future of your world, your life and world still depends on you. We are reviewing information and a pivotal channeling session we held in 2021 on this date. We had our messenger call excerpts from previous years. You will accept more of your importance today, and you and your world will appreciate the life you have led. So it goes back to 2007. You came here to create. Then let's go to the next year. You will never think big enough simply because, in your current perception, you do not know what is possible for you. Become willing to see what shows up. Now, I'm going to say that because that's the thing that most of us, we try to run from it. I started to see, no, I got to deal with whatever is right in front of me. Then the next one of the most powerful tools you have to lead you to the expansion is to allow yourself to become aware of your intentions behind anything you do. We could get into that. We will at some point, because a lot of times we're doing things with no awareness of where we're intending to go. Okay, you and all others are continually seeking validation. We want everybody to tell us we're okay. And I couldn't have told you this years ago, especially 2011. I wasn't going to tell you I had done this. And then I couldn't have told you I had done it in this way because I didn't know. You don't know either, as the message said. And then, okay, when you think something might have gone wrong, you discover that it actually went right. And I can tell you that. And if you've read my book, Overcoming Fear, A Guide to Freedom, you would know that. This one, your only purpose in deciding to have a physical life experience was to come to know, realize, and actualize the perfection that is you. Then the next one, please take this message to heart. And that is meant quite literally. And when you think about that, it is us using our hearts to figure out, love ourselves. That's what we're meant to do. Okay. The next one, the greatest hindrance to your expansion is your self-judgment. And you felt it just as those words came out, and you heard it, because we all have it. But that's not terrible, because when you see it, you can move beyond it. It was always you. That's what we come to realize. Everything we're doing in our lives is coming to understand who we are. It's never about those other people. It's about you, because you came into the world as a soul, and you have to live that. Everybody else is helping you, but you have to become the one who lives your life. You had a great year. I love that one so much. If you disagree, then you are not looking at your life in the manner that would best serve you. And again, I know that one is true. Next one, own your life. Some of these are these are just portions of the message, as you can see. These messages are much longer, but I just wanted to put up this bit so that you could understand there's a process. And anyone who follows the process, you come out a very different person because you understand who you are. It's still a wonderful life. Okay, this was referring to that movie, It's a Wonderful Life, and it's a great one to see. And if you haven't seen it, see it again, because many people do it every year, which is what I did, because you get to look at, wait a minute, maybe I don't want to be here, but then you see, oh yeah, if you hadn't been here, others would have lost out. Others wouldn't have experienced you. you wouldn't have created something. And if I hadn't been here, I couldn't have done this. And there were many times I didn't want to be here. So I can be completely honest about that, as you might have been. But it is still a wonderful life. Then, the perfection of your birth is being revealed to you now. And that is a process you move through on your evolutionary path whenever that happens. We just happen to have an accelerated period happening now because of the acceleration of the planet. Everything still depends on you. Let's just repeat that again. And then the next one, who you become may shock you. And that's exactly what happened for me. So I'm just going to, because there are no limits to what you can create. You just might give up and not do it. But I know that there are no limits because I'm one of those people. I can say if I can do it, anyone can. And I do know that. And so that occurred for Roger yesterday after he finished our question and answer session. We came through powerfully, so much so that he began to experience physical symptoms shortly after, similar to the flu. But he also knew they were ascension symptoms many of you might encounter, either through resistance to the new energy or, as in Roger's case, through acceptance of a higher state of being. And that was actually what occurred. I would do a channeling session. When I was resistant at first, and then I would do the session. This is back in 2021, and that's the session that I'm leaving here because I'd love for you to hear that one. And in 2021, when I first started against my resistance, there was so much resistance, but also that I was holding, and so I would just perspire. There was so much happening. So those two things were happening at the same time. But then it became much more comfortable, and then I moved in that new place, which is exactly what you do when you take that next step into whatever portion of your life you're meant to actualize now, and that is why you are here. And so I'll leave a link in the description of the video. But what I've done recently, just so you know, I've pretty much written everything. I've downloaded, and it works because it heals you. And the only thing I haven't done is finished it because it was so shocking to me. You'll hear that in that video as well, so I want you to hear that one because it's explained how this all came about. Because there's no reason that you can't have the life you want to have. There's no reason that we can't have the world that we want to have either. We just have to move through all the old stuff. And you have to recognize everyone's not going to do that. But we need those others. You'll hear in the session, too, when Wilhelm talks about the others, that's anyone who disagrees with you. Because you're meant to figure out who you are. You're meant to become your empowered self. And these times, whatever's going on, is helping you to accomplish that. And I'm saying that because at 74 years old, I know what can happen. It makes no sense in usual logical thinking terms that I could be here and have moved through what I have, except it changed my consciousness. What Wilhelm gave me changed my consciousness, and it will for you and eventually for our world, because we start to see every single person is having value and worth and coming onto the planet with something to develop, and all they have to do is be given a way to show that, and given a way to let go of the old stuff that does not serve anyone, especially all of humankind. You're going to enjoy this so much. And if you are around on the new moon, the second new moon of December, please come to the channeling session. That will be on the 30th. See you soon.